Hello, hello. Let's talk about inequalities. Okay, so a lot of people say that they don't remember very much about inequalities, so let's kind of look at some of this stuff to see if you do. So it says negative 17 is greater than negative 10. Now, we're supposed to be deciding if these statements are true or false, okay? So with this question, a lot of times with negatives, it's easier for me to do like a thermometer as a number line. So if that was true and this was 0 right here, and this was negative 10, because negative 1, 2, and negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and then this down here was negative 17, I can see easily that negative 17 is lower. Another word for lower is less. So this should say negative 17 is less than negative 10, but it doesn't, so this is false. That is false. Then we go down here and we say, okay, 4 is less than 25. Well, I know that having $4 is less than having $25, so this is true. Now, these are the ones that really people struggle with the most, and that's because you guys haven't seen those inequality symbols before. This reads as negative 18 is greater than or equal to negative 18. So what that means is that it could be either greater than or equal to. So right here, we know that negative 18 is not greater than negative 18, but it is equal to negative 18, which makes this true. Now down here, negative 20 is less than or equal to 5. We know that negative 20 is not equal to 5, but negative 20 is less than 5, so this is also true. Because my negatives are always less than my positives. They're always less than my positives. Okay, so this next one says, this is a bunch of vocabulary here, okay? So when we're talking about vocabulary, there's some that are very, very important. Now, typically when you guys see these words, smaller than, less than, below, fewer, you guys know what this means. Y'all know that that means that it's smaller than, it's less than. So if I said less than 10, x is less than 10, this picture right here is what it would look like. So the dot, if this is a number line, the dot would be at 10. And if you notice, it's something called an open dot. We call it an open dot because x cannot equal 10. It has to be less than 10. Another thing to notice whenever we're graphing is that your inequality symbol actually tells you in points to where you should go. If you notice, it's actually the same as the arrow. It's pointing where you need to shade. So for greater than symbol, if you notice it might greater than, let's pretend like this was 5. So this would be x is greater than 5. And if you notice, it's not, it is also an open dot because it cannot equal 5. It has to be greater than 5. And then it's shaded to the right, just like our arrow here. It is a greater than symbol here. Now, maximum and limit, these are the ones that they like to use the most in word problems. If I have a maximum of $20 to spend, a maximum of $20 to spend, what that means is that I could spend equal to $20. I could spend all of my money. So X could equal $20. I could spend all of it. Or I could spend 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. I could spend less than $20. So that's what that phrase less than or equal to means. If my dad gives me $20, then I can spend all 20 or less than 20. So if you notice, we call this a closed dot because it's filled in. So if it has that line under it, it's going to be a closed dot. Ooh, look at that. Okay, there you go. So then this one, I like to use this one the most right here. Well, actually, I'll get to that in a second. Another one is limit. a spending limit of $20, a maximum limit of $20. Maximum means it's the most that it can be. So what's the most that I can spend? $20. So that's my maximum. How much can you spend? The maximum amount is 20. So let's go to this, the greater than symbol. This one, you guys actually use at least a lot or minimum without really realizing it. When I say you have to have at least 70 smart points on your IXL code today, that means I could have equal to 70 and then I could stop, or I could have greater than 70. So that's what that's talking about. It also, if I have to have at least a 70% in Miss Wagner's class to pass, then that means I have to have a 70 or greater. So X has to be greater than 70 or equal to 70. And these are both closed dots. So these are closed dots. So remember, if it can equal that number, then it is a closed dot. Okay, so my vocabulary is very, very important. So let's look at some stuff for today. So this one says, is U equals 1 a solution to the inequality below? So in this case, what it's asking for is, can this be true? Can this be true? If I plug this in or I substitute it, will this be true? So I actually am going to do that. And then I have to read it. So I know a lot of times y'all read this as like, oh, it's the alligator. No, I need you to be able to read it too. So it says 1 is less than -7. Is 1 less than -7 on a number line? Well, let's look. If I have 0, 1 would be over here, -7 would be over here. If you notice, -7 is further to the left on the number line, which means it is less. It is less. So this is not true. That is false. It is not true. Now, this is a lot of what your IXL codes are going to look like. So please make sure that we're kind of looking at this, okay? So it says, what inequality does the number line show? What inequality? So what that's saying is X has to be, well, let's see, it looks like it's shaded to the right, which if I'm shading to the right, it's actually showing you what symbol to use. That's the greater than symbol. So it has, X can be greater than 6, and then it is a closed dot, which means it could equal 6. Because remember, if it's shaded in, it could equal that number. And that's it. That's all it's asking you to do on that one. Okay, on the next one, it says graph X is greater than 8. That's why it's really important to know what it says. So this is greater than 8. Well, it's not going to be equal to 8, so I'm just going to put a little open dot there. I'm not going to shade it in. And it says X is greater than 8. So that means it has to be all my numbers that are greater, and then also my symbol is the same as the arrow that I'm pointing at. And that's it. That's all we're doing here. This one says write the inequality that's shown by the number line. Well, I know that it's an inequality statement, so X, it's shaded to the right, so it has to be greater than, and it's -686, because that's where the dot is, and it is not shaded, so it can't equal -686, so that's it. Because if it was shaded, then I put that line under it, but it's not shaded. Then we have X is greater than or equal to -825. So I'm going to go to -800, -810, -820. And then I need 25, which would be right here in the middle of -830, -820. It can equal -825. So I'm going to do a closed dot. And then it's telling me it's greater than, so I'm going to shade to the right. I'm going to shade to the right because it's greater than or equal to, so it's going to be closed dot. Now this last one says, is m equals -2 a solution? So what that's saying is substitute it in and then solve it out. So 2, -2, because that's what it says, m equals -2. So when they're close together like that, that means to multiply. So we always multiply before we add. So -2 times a +2 gets me -4. And then same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract. So I'm going to subtract because they're different signs. I have a negative and a positive. 7 minus 4 is 3. And there are more, keep the sign of the bigger number. So there's more positives. So it's going to be a +3. And then I'm going to rewrite. 3 is greater than -5. 3 is greater than or equal to -5. Well, I know that 3 is greater than -5 because a positive is always greater than a negative, so this is true. Okay, so remember when you're going into IXL, you have to make sure that you are logged in. So you should be on your Clever app and then you click IXL, and that's how you have to get there. It should have your name here at the top. Now, if you leave IXL for a little bit and you come back, it is not going to save your work. So please make sure you understand that. It will not save your work. So please, please, please be careful. Okay, so the codes are CXX, so CXX, graphing inequalities on the number line. So this is a graph. It says X is less than or equal to 4, so you would go to 4. Now it says or equal to, so I know it's going to be a closed dot. If it's not, you just click it again if you want it to be an open dot. And then it says it's less than 4, so you're going to go all the way over to the arrow and then submit. Now, if you accidentally click the wrong thing and you're like, oh no, what do I do? Just click again, and then you see how it's like kind of doing that weird thing right in the middle? You just click it, it'll start over. Now, if I get it wrong and I have a closed dot here and it is greater than, but it should be an open dot, but we're going to pretend like I get it wrong. Remember, if you scroll down, it's going to explain all of that to you, okay? And then you click got it once you've read through this so you don't keep getting the same wrong answer. And now your SMART score has to be it has to be a 70 before you can move on to this next code, which is N99. So remember, you have to have a 70 SMART point, SMART score of 70. What inequality does this number line show? Well, we know it's going to be X, and we know it's going to be 3 because it's at +3. And it's shaded to the right, so it's got to be a greater than. So it's either greater than or greater than or equal to. But there is, it's not shaded, so it's going to just be a greater than symbol. Okay, so X, we know it's less than, and it's not shaded, so it's just a less than, and it's at 2. Here's another one. X, and we know it's less than, but it is shaded, so it's going to be a less than or equal to. Remember, if it's shaded, it has to be also the equal to, and it's at 8. And submit. So you just keep going until you get a SMART score of 70 for both of those. We're going to do IXL codes this week for your grade. So there's 4 IXL codes for this week. They are CXX, N99, N2A, and TFK. Today, you're only responsible for CXX and N99. Those are the only ones you're responsible for. You need to get a 70 on your SMART score for both of those, and we'll do the rest on Wednesday, Thursday. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.